Okay, Stacy, I'm going to put you on stage and introduce you, and then I'll let you give your bio. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Chapter Management Tool for Professionals. I would like to introduce to you Stacy Sanz, who will be talking with you and taking your questions this afternoon. So, Stacy?
Hi everyone, my name is Stacey Sines. I am the current president for the San Francisco Bay Area chapter. I've been a lifetime member for almost 8 years now, and I'm really excited to be here to give you my tips and tricks of how to complete the CMT tools.
Well, the first question we have for you, Stacy, is how has the use of the chapter management tool, of course also known as the CMT, directly influenced you with your chapter's operations?
We've been able to utilize the CMT as kind of our skeleton for what we want to do for the year, and we use the CMT tool from the previous year to really understand what worked and what didn't work based on attendance, based on feedback that we've gotten after every event. So it really is like a foundation for how to improve and how to focus our events to the membership needs.
And another question we've been given is, what advice do you have for new chapter executive boards on tackling the CMT? What should be their first step?
Definitely the first step is understanding strengths and weaknesses. What are the things that your board and your chapter can really emphasize on and use to your advantage, whether it's location, whether it's expertise on the board, any network or opportunities that your board has within their professional organization, previous like where they went to school, if they have any connections through there. It's really important to focus on what you can bring, and then from there understand what it is that you need to work on. For example, one of the things that we've really been challenged with in the Bay Area is that a lot of companies still do not allow outside visitors into their facilities, which has made it really hard for us to get sponsorship for general meetings, to have a location to go to. So what we've really tried to take advantage of is the fact that our members come from all over the Bay Area, which is like a 90-mile radius, and we try to rotate what locations that we have our events and try to do it in public spaces. There are a lot of nonprofit organizations in the area that will let you use their space for free, such as public libraries, community centers, boys and girls clubs. So really trying to leverage the opportunities in the different areas that we cover.
Thank you. And from Estefania Fernandez, and I apologize to anybody in advance if I mispronounce a name. She asks, when starting on the CMT, who in the board helps? How often does the board look at it or work on it?
For our chapter in particular, that's the first thing we work on when we transition from the previous board to the new board. We get together, we do like a 3 to 4 hour huddle, and we start. What was our SWOT analysis from last year? What are those lessons learned? And how can we build on that? A lot of times people focus on recreating the wheel, and it's just extra work. Really focus on things that you do well, do them again because they're working, and then try to find a better, innovative way of presenting information or opportunities that haven't worked in the past. And when we get together, it's everyone on the board and we all work on it. So from our SWOT analysis, that's the first thing we work on. And then secondly, we'll work on our objectives. So what is it that we want to accomplish throughout the year? And then figure out, okay, what's our first half objectives and what's our second half objectives. That way, it's not so overwhelming and you're trying to tackle everything at the beginning of the year. And then thirdly, after we've done our SWOT analysis and we've um, developed our objectives for the year, we then target what time of the year we want to tackle those objectives. So, for example, one of our objectives every year is to reach out to a new student chapter and collaborate with them. And we typically try to at least do one event with them in the fall to kind of get the communication and the relationship going. And then we can build off of that objective in the spring and do a mentorship program or do like a resume workshop, which is still capturing the same type of pillar with the student outreach and the community outreach. But we kind of split it up into portions, but they all build up on each other. And also focusing that everyone on the board works on the CMT. Everyone is in charge for at least one event throughout the year, so it's their responsibility to make sure that the objective of that event is being met, that they're coming up with a plan of action. So what needs to happen in a kind of timely manner to execute the event, and also providing a budget and promoting the event. And at the end of the event, we typically give our board members about 10 days after the event to then evaluate and write down the lessons learned. If you do the schedule portion of the CMT right after the event happens, it eliminates a lot of work at the end of the reporting period when you're trying to compile all the information to submit to nationals. If you take it bit by bit, it makes it way easier, and then you can use the feedback from your members and from the board members who attended in real time and apply that feedback to your next event.
And Andres de Alia writes, I love the fact we have a CMT. Where can I access it? I'd love to start familiarizing myself with it already.
So the CMT tool is on the website. You'll also have links to all of these tools in your platform during and after the CCLP. But if you are not familiar where to find things, you can definitely reach out to myself or anybody on the SHIP national team who are very versed on the CMT. But it's all on the website. All these resources that we talk about throughout the conference are readily available to anyone. You just have to search it in the bar on the website.
Great. And Kimberly Douglas asks, have you faced any challenges using the CM tool, and how did you overcome them?
Yes. The CM tool, I think, like I've mentioned, can be very overwhelming because if you don't understand what a SWOT analysis is, if you don't understand what kind of objectives are going to work for your chapter, it can just seem like a lot of information. But if you focus on doing the SWOT first, the objective second, and then working on your schedule, it's helped me and my board really be able to digest the information. And I really encourage that if you are a returning, like a chapter that's been established before, to really ask your previous board what they did and how they did it, and understand what worked and didn't work from them, because you could really utilize the information from the previous year. And I'm not going to say copy and paste it, but that is a foundation. That is something that you can build on, change, edit. There's no need to work, like, try to recreate the wheel if you've already had a board that's successfully been able to utilize it, and who understands how to fill it out. So I would definitely use your previous board or any adjacent chapters as a resource to ask questions. And your regional team is also a very good resource to ask those questions, because they've seen it, they've done it, they have experience. You're not alone. So just ask around.
Thank you. And Brulio Reyes asks, how do you communicate the CMT to your chapter members? Do you show them the CMT so they understand the why behind what events are planned throughout the year?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like a lot of times we forget that, like, our end goal is to provide a well-rounded experience for our members. So I make sure to bring up our CMT tool at every board meeting, because that is our, like, skeleton. That is what we told ourselves we were aiming for. So after you've developed your SWOT analysis and created your objectives, and you've understand what events you need to execute to meet those goals, we do like monthly or bi-monthly in person, and we just pull up the CMT tool and we go through, okay, just a reminder, these are the objectives we set back at the beginning. This is where we are, this is where we need to be, making sure that you're having those realistic, like, checkpoints throughout the year so that everyone understands and is still focused on the end goal.
Great. And how often do you recommend that we work on the chapter management tool, and what's the soonest you recommend for us to get started?
The soonest, I would say, the first meeting you have as a new board, that's where you should be working on the CMT and doing the SWOT analysis and creating your objective. Ideally, you also want to do your chapter schedule, but understandably, like, you have an idea of what you want to do, but you won't have, like, dedicated sponsors or speakers, but you can at least start with, okay, we want to do a professional workshop in October before the national conference, and these are the 3 topics that we potentially want to do, and let's start reaching out to our network. So I would say as soon as possible. The sooner you get your CMT organized, the easier the planning process for the entire year will be. And I like sending monthly reminders. Internally, we use Trello for our action items. And so when we develop our CMT with our chapter schedule, every person on our board has at least one event they're responsible for. And we give them deadlines based on when our target month will be for that event. So if your event is coming up, then you're top of our agenda every time we meet of, like, what's the update? Do you need help reaching out for speakers? Do you have a topic? Have you created a flyer? When do we need to start promoting this? As soon as you can have your base, which is your objectives, the rest will really fall in place. But the key is to be as consistent as possible, of reiterating what the goal is. These are your deadlines, and using that as a almost like an agenda to your board meetings. It's really helpful.
And for the 3 to 4 hour review of the CMT, is that done in person or online? And how do you incentivize board members to show up in person?
I've done it both ways, virtually and online. I feel like you get the best out of individuals when it's in person because you get more collaboration, more participation, and there's no screen that you can stand behind and just let someone else take the lead. It really requires the collaboration of an entire board to be successful. So I always suggest doing it in person if you can. We typically do it on a Saturday, um, and we we always try to make it part of our budget that when we sit down and do the CMT review, when we work on our NRP, there's always a budget for breakfast and lunch. And depending if we shift that event to the afternoon, because it has to be during the week after work, then we budget dinner and drinks. It's really important to like create the collaborative, inviting environment when working on this because it's not easy. It is work, but you've got to make it fun because if you're not having fun creating the plan, then nobody's going to have fun attending your event. So it starts from the planning process to having fun, being collaborative, making it an inviting environment for your board to feel comfortable to bring ideas and not feel like there's a dictatorship and there's only one person like providing content and contributing to the development of the CMT.
And our next question is, what are some additional tools you believe complement the CMT and its purpose of, among other things, planning for the success of your members?
It's what we try to do when putting together the CMT is really focus on like what the mission and vision of SHIP is. So understanding the pillars and how each of our objectives ties back to the pillars of SHIP and making sure that each event covers one of the pillars and making sure that you're kind of that you're being strategic on planning events where it's not just like the same pillar over and over again. Like if you're doing a professional development event this month, maybe next month should be like a community outreach, and then the following month can be a social with like another organization, and then after that you do like another pillar and another pillar, rather than to like always focusing on professional development or always focusing on social events or always focusing on community outreach. Those are great, but what makes us unique as an organization is how well-rounded we are and how we really develop our members to be great at outreach, great at networking, great at passing the information forward. So using the pillars to complete your CMT is really helpful. And what I've learned in being part of a board, not just as a student, but as a professional, that people just want to feel connected. People want to feel like they belong somewhere. And as long as you and your board like give out those like that excitement, that sense of community, that sense of belonging to the members, like they will enjoy your events as much as you enjoy planning for them. And you will have greater success with getting people to attend and people to come back and people to really feel like they're making an impact. So if you just remember why you got involved in SHIP and what keeps you being involved in SHIP and putting that, like those vibes back to your events, like everything else is going to fall into place.
Thank you. And what has been the biggest challenge for your chapter when using the CMT?
Um, Sometimes we do forget like what the end goal is, and it's challenging to say no to opportunities because it's not the right time. And we've fallen into kind of that pattern where we want to say yes to all these great like sponsorships and collaborations because we want to be able to connect with everyone, give our members all the opportunities possible. But sometimes you have to learn to say no or say, you know, that sounds like a great opportunity and collaboration for our chapter, but is there a possibility to do that in spring or maybe next year because our calendars is already full? It's okay to say no, and it's okay to push events if it's just not the right time, if it's going to be too rushed, if it's not going to be the quality of event that you know that your board can put together. It's never too early to plan for the next board. That's one thing to also keep in mind is like, you don't have to cram everything in 1 year. You can create those connections and opportunities for your incoming board. There's nothing wrong with that. And looking to the future is always a good thing because that's what creates the retention and the longevity of the chapter.
Thank you. And this is a two-part question. Do you believe your chapter's executive board had a thorough understanding of how to complete the CMT? And what do you wish your chapter knew before working on the CMT?
I was fortunate enough that my executive board was a returning member or a board member. So they already had the experience of what the CMT was and the expectations of completing it and developing it at the beginning of the year. So I was fortunate enough to have that. But I have been on boards in the past where not everybody understood that we're new to the organization or they were new to being a board member in the organization. And just tying it back to the mission and vision of SHIP and like what we're here to do and how this is an outline of how we can execute that mission and vision really helps tie everything together. Because at the end of the day, the tool is there to help you make the best out of the opportunities there that there are in the area that you're located.
Great. And we've got just a couple minutes left. So what other words of wisdom, Stacy, do you have for everybody on the session?
I've already said this a couple times, but you have to remember to have fun. If you're not having fun, nobody else around you has fun. And being able to make an impact in the community, to help our members be better professionals, learn skill sets they probably wouldn't be able to get exposure to in their professional career, wherever they may be. It's really exciting to like see your members grow and also see your board grow. I've had board members that joined right out of college, and now I'm seeing them like 5-10 years in, and like seeing that growth within them is like so rewarding. So just remember, like, we're all here to help each other, to help La Familia, have fun, and everyone else around you will have fun.
Well, thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for attending. And don't forget to join us in the breakout sessions where you'll have an opportunity to talk to more of your peers and ask additional questions. And thank you all again for attending.
Thank you.